Welcome to Journey of an Author with Alfred Muller. This is the first video in what I hope to be a long-running video series where I discuss elements of writing, such as conflict, plot, character development, and setting. It's my intention to discuss books by other independent authors besides myself, potentially have some special guests, as well as friends and family of mine who also write and have very unique thoughts on writing outside of my own, so you don't have to just sit here and listen to me speak. Now, if you are interested in some of my work, I'd like to direct you to Amazon, where you can find two of my short stories, Tyr's Trial and Reaper Society, both available for Kindle Unlimited. And I have a third story coming out called The Classics, and my full-length novel is coming out around the holidays. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to go to Kindle or Amazon and check those out. Now, let's get started. So for this video, and the flagship video, I'd like to talk about development of a character. Now, this could be a very broad and scary topic to talk about, especially if you're a new author. But I want to break it down into two different elements. The first I call potential development, and the second is what I call kinetic development. Potential development are the basics of your character before you even put pen to paper. That is their flaws, their likes, their dislikes, what color eyes they have, their hair, their friends, their family, the basic character you want to start with. Now, I'm not going to get too in-depth on how you do that because I wrote a blog post on my website, which I'll have a link in the description below if you'd like to check that out. This video, I'm going to focus on kinetic development. Kinetic development is normally referred to as character change. Now, this may be redundant, but if there is no change in your character, there is no story. Change is the nebula that creates conflict, and as readers, we want to see the character struggle and go through those challenges with them and come out on the other side feeling fulfilled. Now, it doesn't mean that the character has to do a complete 180 by the end of the story, but you want to see development throughout the story. They could do a 360. As long as you see the struggles that cause change in the character, it's a better story. Now, some of the best conflict I've ever written or read takes place with characters that go through change. You want to challenge what their concepts are in the potential development that you created for the character. A perfect example of this is, let's take this random character, Samantha Doe. Now, let's say she is an expert archer, just naturally gifted with the bow and arrow. That's cool, that's interesting. That's a starting point for us to look at. Now, if that character is used to hunting, but then enters a competition where she's challenging other archers from across the town or the city, or if you want to make it modern, across the United States, okay, now we've created a scenario for her to thrive or struggle. If she mows through the competition and wins gold, never really being challenged by any archers, that's boring. And all we get to do is just see the character you develop. For yourself, that's cool. As a reader, that bores us. What we want to see is Samantha wake up late for the competition and miss the first round and get expelled, and try and find a way to re-enter the competition or train for next year. We want to see her go up against other naturally gifted archers who push her to her limits and force her to do new things. What if her bow snaps in the middle of the competition? Or what if someone who reminds her of a villain from her past keeps her from focusing properly on the target? Even Olympic gold medalists struggle when they're in their competition in archery. If she were to go through the first 2 or 3 rounds and have no issues, that's okay, as long as by round 3 or 4, before the finals, she starts to face stronger competition, and maybe she doesn't mow them down as quick as she did in the earlier rounds. And now we know, oh man, she's having issues with these guys and she's still got 2 rounds of competitions ahead. Then when she wins gold, we all can celebrate with her. Now, I briefly mentioned earlier that a character doesn't have to do a 180, they can do a 360. And that's a common misconception when you hear character change, that your character has to completely be different from the time you made that fundamental development, the potential development that I had mentioned earlier, up until now. What I mean by that is, a character can end in one of 2 ways in their development. They could either be challenged on those fundamentals and overcome them, or they could be challenged on those fundamentals and realize that they were wrong, or they aren't strong enough to keep those fundamentals, and that's where the change occurs. Now, this actually comes from a theory in philosophy, and if you're a fan of the show House, you may know this already. Do people change? And when you ask yourself that question, how you answer it may determine how you decide how your characters end in the story. Do they overcome those struggles that you've given them, or do they collapse under the weight of those pressures? And neither is wrong, and there are very interesting stories where characters overcome those struggles and stay exactly who they are with maybe minor tweaks, because nobody comes out of conflict unscathed. Think about any issues in your life that you came out of stronger and maybe not different, but you still carry the weight of those struggles with you. Going back to our character Samantha Doe, let's say when she gets into the competition and we've made her struggle because she's facing other challenges, other competitors who are just as talented as her, she cheats. She falls under the pressure. She can no longer keep up her skills against these other competitors and must find a way to cheat. Maybe she snips someone else's bowstring. Maybe she hides the bow. Maybe she has an accomplice who helps with the targets. That's an example of performing a 180 with your character, that they've failed in the fundamentals that you've developed for them and have now changed. Or the other way is maybe she loses fairly. Maybe she realizes that, man, I have to practice more in order to be able to beat these guys or girls. She can then still do a 180, but it's more of a 720. She's changed a lot, but not in the fundamental way. Her perspective on things may change. It doesn't change the fundamentals of a character, but you still see something, some growth in the character. Because that's what we really want to look for when we're developing these characters. We want to see them grow. Again, static is boring. I don't want to see the same character walk through Mordor and decide I can just throw the ring in the fire. I want to see Frodo struggle with the decision that the ring has changed in him. And then when he gets there, you're faced with another Isildur. Well, we made it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And just to summarize, remember, when you're developing characters, start with the potential development. Create them, make them what you want, and then based on that creation, those fundamentals, the building block of that character, challenge them, because that will make your conflict and your scene development that much easier. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe and the like button. Leave a comment below, and I'd love to respond and have a discussion down there. Also check the description where you can follow me on TikTok and Twitter, Amazon, and a few other places. Don't forget to check out Amazon and Kindle for my short stories available, as well as look out for my full-length novel, The Water Crystal: Rise of Azrael Kaimana, coming out in the holidays. I'll see you in the next one.